There's a lot that goes into movie making, especially huge productions like the Marvel Studios' mega blockbuster Avengers: Infinity War. Between principal photography, adding CGI effects, and reshoots, scheduling can become a mind-bogglingly complex equation. Often studios like Marvel have to begin editing before they've even finished filming the movie. So it's no wonder that mistakes start to creep in. And despite how awesome Avengers: Infinity War is, even the biggest blockbuster event of the year isn't immune to editing mistakes. As one eagle-eyed Marvel fan discovered when he found a glaring continuity error that somehow completely slipped past everyone at Marvel Studios. What is this huge mistake? Well, during the climactic battle at the end of the film, Thanos is shown grabbing Vision by the throat on 2 separate occasions. Everything you ever knew is a lie. Okay, so maybe it's not that big a deal. In fact, you probably didn't even notice it when you were watching Avengers: Infinity War in the theater. But once the mistake was pointed out by Reddit user 4AJ in a handy graphic, it's pretty hard to miss. The scene in question takes place just after Scarlet Witch uses her hex power to destroy Vision's Mind Stone, preventing Thanos from completing the Infinity Gauntlet and destroying half the life in the universe. Unfortunately, Thanos uses the Time Stone to rewind history. And once Vision is alive again, he grabs the synthezoid by the throat. When Scarlet Witch tries to intervene, Thanos clobbers her. After she hits the ground, the camera pans back over to Thanos and Vision, and Thanos is shown reaching for Vision's throat even though he just had his big, meaty villain hand around it a few seconds before. Thanos then lifts Vision off the ground, holds him in the air by his throat, and scoops out the Mind Stone. We know Thanos' whole thing is taking tyranny to the extreme and being as over-the-top as possible, not quite as dramatic as the late Loki, but pretty close. But a double chokehold seems a bit excessive. Though it's definitely detectable and certainly won't go unnoticed now that it's made the rounds on the internet, this mistake doesn't really affect the overall quality of the movie at all. Even after learning Thanos grabs Vision by the throat twice in the span of a few seconds, every Marvel fan would likely say that Avengers: Infinity War is still as action-packed, at times hilarious, and ultimately heart-wrenching as it was before anyone noticed that small editing mistake. And more than that, this certainly isn't the first time a Marvel Cinematic Universe installment has featured an error, or at least a perceived error. In Spider-Man: Homecoming, for instance, a graphic stated that the film took place 8 years after the events of the first Avengers movie, when it should have only been 5. And remember the mysterious case of Bucky Barnes' changing birthday? His birth year has been variously listed as 1916, 1917, and 1922. And there was the car dent that fixed itself in the Avengers, the money that magically flew out of a wallet in the Incredible Hulk, and the disappearing headset in Iron Man. And, well, we could go on, but why nitpick some of our favorite films? If anything, these little harmless goof-ups are just reassuring proof that while the Avengers may be superhuman, the folks at Marvel who make these great films are just normal people, like the rest of us. People who sometimes make mistakes, and sometimes make great movies. It just makes us more excited than ever to find out what happens in Avengers 4, which is scheduled to arrive in theaters in May 2019. Will the dead return to life? Will the Avengers prevail? Will Thanos choke Vision a 3rd time? Whatever happens, we can't wait to find out.